Hello viewers and welcome to yet another live-action commentated match of Warhammer 40,000 Conquest. My name is Mitch, and I am the Hive Tyrant. Today I'm pleased to present you with an exceptionally special game featuring none other than Packmaster Kith running up against the Astra Militarum powerhouse, Colonel Straken. So to the left we have a gentleman by the name of Mark Mølbæk playing Packmaster Kith, and to the right we have none other than Alexander Cimadon, who is kind enough to provide me with this footage in the first place. So the initiative token is to the right in the possession of Alexander, and his opening deploy happens to be a copy of Ammo Depot into his HQ, so that affords him the opportunity to draw an additional card as an action as soon as he happens to hit 3 or fewer cards in hand. We happen to see a Kith's Chimera Masters put out to planet number 1, and a Chimera Den put into Kith's HQ as the very second deploy action. So things are already looking a little bit grim here for Alexander. He's got a copy of the Evil Sun's Warbiker at planet number 1. It attacks for 4 as soon as an enemy Warlord or his own Warlord is present. He affixes a copy of the Rocket Launcher to it, so it's attacking at range, but Packmaster Kith keeps those plays coming by putting out a copy of Suffering, so that the Evil Sun's Warbiker without the presence of a Warlord is basically a 0 attack ranged unit. So that Chimera Den is incredibly nasty. Not only can Kith generate Chimera tokens, not only will the Chimera Masters generate tokens there, but the Chimera Den can strategically relocate those tokens to one target planet, any number of those tokens wherever they happen to be, at an action speed when it's most, favorable to do so. So things are off to a very rough start. Looks like we've got a potentially very quick game here. Both players decide to send their Warlords to planet number 1. All 3 of our first planets are all green strong point planets, and let's see how in the hell battle is going to pursue or just on go here, because that's 2 Chimera tokens, the Chimera Master at planet number 1. Straken had better hope to generate some decent stuff, so they've tied during command. There's going to be absolutely no just income at any other planets, and it looks like Kith's hand there is absolutely full of shield cards. We see a copy of Searing Brand, so that's going to be at the same planet as your Warlord. I believe it's 3 unpreventable damage to a unit unless the controller discards 2 cards. So it looks as though Alexander does decide to discard 2 cards, and he triggers the Ammo Depot to draw himself an additional card. So we see a copy of Raid, and I believe that's used to steal a resource. It didn't look as though that was used as shields, and that's going to put Colonel Straken there in a pretty nasty position, but the Evil Sun's Warbiker is going to be attacking during the range skirmish round for 2. What is his target? I can only assume it's going to be a Chimera token, but whatever that... Okay, so it actually ended up being a... the Packmaster Kith there, and because of Straken being present, that was attacking for a grand total of, 3, thanks to the Suffering, so Kith is going to take 1 point of damage because 2 of that was shaved off by Raid. But the Evil Sun's Warbiker was destroyed. We see an Elysian Assault Team interplay. That's going to be a 2-1 soldier unit. Well, I suppose it's technically a 3-1 because of Straken's presence there. And what is it attacking? Is it attacking Kith? Yes, it looks like that's going to be Packmaster Kith with 4 points of damage, and now it's going to be our Dark Eldar player's opportunity to retreat. So it looks as though we see Kith retreat. Straken takes a swing for 2, kills a Chimera token. I definitely was not expecting the battle to go like this. The Kith's Chimera Masters kills off that copy of the Elysian Assault Team pretty handily, and now we're going to be at the end of the combat round here. It looks as though we've got a little bit of a video glitch, so that must have been a second copy of the Elysian Assault Team interplay. After the destruction of the first, that's going to be another Chimera token destroyed, so very timely plays there by Colonel Straken, and it seems as though at the end of the combat round that Kith's Chimera Masters ended up retreating there, so some unfortunate just glitches in our video, but what a hell of a what a hell of a first turn and an incredible first battle. So that Kith's Chimera Masters retreats because the initiative token was in the hands of Colonel Straken there. Would have been foolish to just simply stay at that planet and be destroyed. But our HQ phase comes and goes. That's going to be 2 cards, 4 resources for each of our players. Looks like that first planet was Iridial, so that's not going to be any damage to heal from that planet, and those glitches continue in the video, most unfortunate. But our new 5th planet is going to be Farron, and we see an Archon's Palace there to the left for Kith, so I've not even had the opportunity to talk about our planets because these plays are so quick. Staging ground there to the right. Planet number 1 is Ossus 4, which steals resources. Planet number 2 is going to be Taurus, which allows players to draw 3 cards or 3 resources if they can keep their unit count lower than that of their opponent. Planet number 3 is going to be Barless, the random card discard planet. Planet number 4 is going to be Planum, the moving on Warlord unit planet. We see a copy of the Slith Mercenaries touchdown on planet number 1. Kith doesn't have anywhere near as many resources, though, as Straken does, so that may have been a very poor play, but it seems as though Kith is quite starved for cards. And of course, our planet number 5 is going to be Farron, the route a target non-Warlord unit planet. So that Archon's Palace to the left, Kith has got all of her supports up and running. That's going to afford Kith the opportunity to deprive Straken of cards and resources, and Colonel Straken there to the right doesn't really have a wealth of command icon possessing units distributed about the board to collect a bunch of cards and resources, so if he just keeps up that first planet bully thing, he's not necessarily going to be able to get much income at all during the command phase thanks to that Archon's Palace. So we see our opponent there to the left text messaging with a very beaten up phone. Can't tell if that's texting or Facebook, but we see a copy of Straken's command squad put out to planet number 2, now sitting there at Taurus, and we see a copy of Shoot 'em Mob, so I presume that Kith indeed had to pass, and now Kith is being punished for having the audacity of doing so, or being forced to do so, because Straken is distributing a bit of command presence here. That staging ground could be a pretty convenient means to afford Straken the opportunity to maybe bloody Packmaster Kith. Straken ends up going to planet number 2, and then Kith goes to planet number 3, so it looks like Kith was maybe trying to card choke Straken. Planet number 1, I suppose, is Kith going to completely forego that planet? That's just going to be 1 resource token stolen by Colonel Straken, if that does happen to be the case. But in regard to command, looks like planet number 1 is going to be 2 resources for Alexander. Planet number 2 is going to be 1 card, 1 resource for Alexander. Planet number 5 is going to be 2 resources for Alexander, and planet number 3 is going to be 2 cards for Kith. But, of course, the Archon's Palace there sitting in Kith's HQ is going to have interrupted that somewhat. It looks as though we do see Ossus 4 successfully captured, entirely uncontested by Colonel Straken. And now he's set up very favorably at our soon-to-be planet number 1, which is his victory condition. So Barless is going to afford the opportunity. Looks like Alexander playing a little bit of a game with his opponent there. So they must be pretty good friends, because otherwise I would be about to flip the table if I were that Dark Eldar player. But we end up seeing finally a random card discarded from Alexander's hand during this very friendly game, I'm sure, of Straken versus Kith. Kind of a very odd matchup. But once again, camera glitches. I apologize, my viewers. And this is going to be a new HQ phase. Our new 5th planet is going to be Elowith. That's 4 resources and 2 cards for each of our players. And what exactly is I never thought I would say this, but what is Packmaster Kith going to do to try to save herself? Because that damned Colonel Straken is looking to be in a pretty favorable position here at the first planet. We see a Catachan outpost put into play. Straken's got the initiative. It's all going to come down to Taurus. I can see an Archon's Terror in Kith's hand. I can see a Kith's Chimera Masters, and I know that Kith has a copy of Foretell as well to prevent a battle ability. But maybe that's 2 Archon's Terrors, actually, that Kith has. Yes, it is, but it's only a finite number of, resource tokens, so what exactly is Kith going to do? Kith still has the Chimera Den to shift the Chimera from planet number 1, well, from planet number 2 to planet number 1. Kith can generate an additional Chimera token, and we end up seeing a copy of the Kith's Chimera Masters put out to planet number 1, so that Archon's Terror would not be poorly used to get rid of that Straken's command squad, just because it would be replacing itself with, if Straken is there, a 2/2 guardsman token. We see a Shoot 'em Mob put into play at planet number 5 by Alexander, and now what else do we see? Alexander's got 5 resources. Kith only has 2 resources. So how exactly are things going to break down here? We see an Incubus Warrior put out to planet number 1. It's going to be a 3 attack unit. We see the ammo depot to the right, mean an additional card drawn by Alexander. And now what else is he going to have the opportunity to do? There's still that Elysian Assault team. There's that Straken's command squad sitting at planet number 1, and Straken will bring with him a Slith mercenaries, and the staging ground could also put some units into play as well. Kith has only got 2 hit points on her, so she's not, going to be able to remain in combat for long, and for Kith's sake, she'd better hope to draw some cards from Barless there. So let's see how things break down. Our players are still assessing their hands. They've yet to set their command dials. For Alexander's hand, it looks like I spied a 2 arms, and he's going to be playing another unit. It's a Tallarn Raiders, so that's going to be a 0-2, potentially a 2-2 if a Warlord graces that planet. And I can only imagine that Straken himself will, and he'll be augmenting that Tallarn Raiders up to a 3-attack unit. So let's see here. That's going to be Straken to planet number 1, and Kith must be pretty competent in her ability to survive here, because Kith actually ends up going to planet number 3, and that's going to be Straken, the Slith Mercenaries, Tallarn Raider, Elysian Assault Team, and Straken's command squad all at planet number 1. So what exactly is Kith going to do to try to get herself through this one? The Chimera Den can relocate both Chimeras at planet 2 and 3 to the first planet. Kith is going to be able to potentially do an Archon's Terror if she wins an additional resource. But in regard to income, we see planet number 1 is going to be 1 card, 1 resource for Straken. Planet number 2 is going to be 2 cards for Kith. Planet number 3 is going to be 1 card, 1 resource for Kith. Once again, I apologize about the graphical errors in this video, and that's going to be the Chimera Den relocating the Chimera tokens from planets 2 and 3 to planet number 1. So a little bit ballsy here, but we see the Elysian Assault Team take a swing of 3 targeted at the Incubus Warrior, which itself is a 3-1 unit. The Incubus Warrior is destroyed, and now what do we see Kith do? The Chimera token is going to take a swing at the 3-2. Okay, so that's copy of 2 arms spent to preserve the lives of the now exhausting Tallarn Raiders. That's going to be a 3-2 unit, dealing an attack out at that ready Chimera, so it's going to be destroyed, and now it's Kith's opportunity to attack once again. She's got the Chimera token, which is exhausting, to attack Straken's command squad, so that 3-2 unit is going to be outright destroyed, and that's going to be a 2-2 guardsman token put into play. So there's that token, and now what exactly are we going to see from Straken and that token? The token itself exhausts to take an attack at the Kith's Chimera Masters, and are we going to see some shield cards discarded? We see a copy of Foretell discarded. I believe that's a 1 shield card. That means the Kith's Chimera Master survives with 1 point of damage. The Elysian Assault Team, that's a 3-1 unit, ends up being killed by those Chimera Masters, and we see Straken take a swing of 2 to kill off that Chimera token. So now it's just the Chimera Masters and a Chimera token, and there we see this, oh god, we see a staging ground interplay, and that's going to be an Evil Sun's Warbiker taking a swing of an almighty 5, and that is a very dead Chimera token. At the end of the combat round, there we go. So GG, we see Kith call it quits already. So an extraordinarily quick game, but it's not often you see a Kith versus Straken matchup, and it's definitely not often that you see 2 friends play a game and Straken actually reigns triumphant in being able to best Packmaster Kith. So very well played by both of these players. Thank you to Alexander for providing me with this very amusing little gameplay video. Thank you at home for watching, and as always, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel if you've not done so already, or if you are already subscribed, I always encourage you to share this content, as the more likes, the more views these videos receive, the more subscriptions my channel incurs. All of it means more people are going to be exposed to Conquest, potentially try out the game, join our community, and end up sending the message along with us to Fantasy Flight Games to continue to support and to develop for this fantastic product. If at any point you'd like to get in touch with me, I'd encourage you to do so through Twitter or on Facebook, as I'm always on the lookout for games to spectate, commentate, and record. And if you'd like to be like Alexander and send me live live-action gameplay of your own, I'd be absolutely honored to commentate that and host it on my channel. If at any point you feel so inclined to help support the Hive Tyrant, to donate $1 or $2 to me a month to help me recover some of my file hosting and operating expenses, I'd be honored were you to check out my Patreon. But with that said, thank you once again for watching, and as always, be sure to check back in again soon for ever more Conquest LCG content to come.